I want you all to close your eyes. Now take a moment to visualize yourself at 15 years old. It isn't a hard task to imagine yourself this young, as each of you here today will know of a young person in your life. Your son or daughter, your niece or nephew, your grandchildren, that kid who lives down the street. In some way or another, we are all connected to members of our younger generation, our future generation, and at some point, we have all been there. Okay, open your eyes. So how did you feel at the tender age of 15? A little naive, insecure, unsure of the world you live in? How you meant to understand things like how to go in for that first kiss, how to make pancakes without burning them, or how to write your CV? How you meant to understand the life lessons you're being taught in school, such as the imperative Pythagoras theorem, when you can't even understand what's going on with your own body? At home, you're told to stop being such a kid. At school, you're told to grow up. So you stumble awkwardly through your first months at high school. You meet other teenagers in the same boat as you, and you think to yourself, hey, maybe I'm finally getting the hang of this all. Your worst fear is having your parents embarrass you in front of your friends, and your biggest decision is whether to buy a pie or a sausage roll from the tuck shop at lunch. Life ain't that tough, and you're on your way to a successful start at life. Okay, let's throw a spanner in the works, shall we? How are you meant to feel when, at 15 years old, you were sexually abused? Pregnant, dealing with a mental disorder, expected to survive on your own. For me, this wasn't something I had to imagine, because at 15, this was my reality. And for many other young people, this still is. We'd experienced a divorce in my family. A divorce these days is unremarkable, but to a young person, this could be one vital factor in the making or breaking of their future. My parents' divorce for me personally planted the seed of my ongoing subconscious trust issues. I began to question everything I'd ever known. I began to question the trust I'd always had in my parents, the first adults I'm meant to be able to trust in life. I began to question my trust in adults altogether. So when at 15, I discovered that after being raped, I was pregnant, I didn't speak a word. Not to my parents, not to the police, not to my teachers, not to my doctor. They were all adults after all. And who was going to take me seriously anyway? I was only 15. At 16, I was out of home. I was on antipsychotic medication to treat my dissociative disorder, borderline personality disorder, psychosis, whatever else adults labeled me with. I was also introduced to a new label, slut, and it stuck. It was at 16 that I experienced losing my first child. But I was only 16. At 17, I was out of school. I attempted art college, but I dropped out of that too. With the ongoing personal issues I was trying to resolve on my own, trying to get me to study was like trying to teach a pig how to pole dance. It wasn't going to work. I was meant to be staying with relatives at the time, but they were adults too. I mean, it wasn't their fault that I felt more comfortable sleeping in graveyards or playgrounds. I could barely understand it myself, but I was only 17. At 18, despite my precarious view of myself in relation to adults, I became a worker in the adult entertainment industry. Adult entertainment industry. Isn't that ironic? After all these years of struggling to find help from the adults in my life, I could so easily become their entertainment in order for me to survive. For me personally, this paints a really sad picture of what our society has been conditioned to. I became involved with gangs and I discovered hard drugs, but I also lost another child. And I was only 18. At 19, I lost another child. And my home at the time, and my job. I mean, I could have asked for help, right? But I was only 19. These incidences just seem to form a repetitive cycle in my life. But after being made homeless once again, and after being strangled and hit by someone who was meant to care for me, my turning point came in the form of a positive pregnancy test. It was time to break out of the cycle I was in. No adult was going to do that for me, and I wasn't prepared to wait around till I was an adult myself to change my circumstances either. So, at 20 years old, I decided to change my life. And when I did, I began to see these significant life events less as burdens, but more as lessons and vital building blocks which have structured my life and who I've become today, somebody I can be proud of. Having built my own support, I managed to get clean. I managed to leave the adult entertainment industry. I managed to escape an abusive relationship. I managed to reestablish the crucial relationships between myself and both of my parents. I managed to find the confidence to approach a charity service, LifeWise, who helped me to find my own home. I became a member of ASK, our local youth church, and also Te Paharakeke, a young mums group here on the island where I live. I fell in love with someone who taught me how to trust again, and we got engaged. And I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy boy who in 5 days will be 1. And I was also blessed with the opportunity to speak here at this very event. I am only 21, but 21 I know now is only a number. These building blocks I'd created stretched further than supporting just my own ego, but also into creative realms such as my art and writing. I began a blog, theknockedupstripper.com. But in addition to this blog being my own reliable source of self-therapy and a way to analyze my own thoughts and decisions whilst on my quest to find myself, I hope that in some way my story could inspire the lives of other young people. I wanted to reach out a supportive hand to anyone experiencing difficult problems I could relate to, and I also wanted to prevent these things from ever happening to others. In the last Quality of Life survey, a quarter of our young people stated that within the last 12 months they had felt lonely. At my darkest points, when I felt totally alone, I resorted to survival tactics. It's a natural instinct we use when expedient to do so, but it doesn't have to be that way. In writing my blog and I've come to realize that from my experiences, there were 3 main factors I was lacking in my life to lead me to what I would refer to for myself as rock bottom. A sense of identity, self-confidence, and support. Without these 3 things, our youth are not reaching their full potential. They are not given a chance to prove what they are capable of. Without these 3 things, we are also putting impressionable youth in danger, and we are preventing them from entering healthy adult lives. The importance of identity, I believe, is something which is often overlooked. But for anyone, knowing who you are is a pivotal part of growing, maturing, and the way we form relationships. As a young person, you're just constantly trying to find yourself, which is a difficult endeavor in an era tainted with propaganda, senseless idealism, unrealistic expectations, pornography, and heavy drug culture. The media and adults are constantly trying to tell us who we're meant to be before we've even had the chance to find that out for ourselves. I believe our young people need space to explore their own minds and abilities in a safe and healthy environment. We need to be teaching them about their whakapapa, their heritage. We need to be involving them in conversation and asking them thoughtful questions to spark their own ideas. The next important skill, a good trait for a young person to have, to instill into themselves once they have found their sense of identity, is self-confidence. Knowing who you are and being proud of it not only makes one's life an easier journey, but it will help with anything they wish to pursue in future. This can be taught by encouragement and by praising the achievements of others. In order for our young people to gain their sense of identity and their self-confidence, we need to be offering our youth stable support systems. Now, to clarify, Support doesn't necessarily mean just being the role of a parent, a guardian, or other role model. Support can come in many forms. For example, the many brilliant agencies we have out there specifically designed to support our youth. Support, though, I believe is pointless if our young people don't have the confidence within themselves to approach these people and services. Maraes, cultural meeting places, schools, online support groups, these all need to be places of safety and security for our young people, a place they can go to and feel welcome, a place of belonging, a place to call home. If at any point a young person experiences any form of trauma or abuse or bullying in these safe environments, they are no longer safe environments, and instead this young person will begin to feel resentment towards these community areas. Intervention starts with open eyes and ears and really getting to know one another, ensuring that our young people do not fall into dangerous affairs. If the noxious seed of trauma is planted in any of these places, feelings of neglect, isolation, and abandonment can take root, and from this could stem possible feelings of being lost or without a place in society. If you have no place in society, you're an outcast, and that means that you will feel your opinions are of no value, and you will not speak up when you need to out of fear that no one will be there to listen to you. This is why it is so important that we focus on these two things, trust and communication. Restoring trust where it has been taken advantage of is difficult, but it's not impossible. All it takes is honesty. Keep your promises. They might not mean as much to you as they do to a young person. Reassure them that you will be there to listen and to help them in whatever way you can, and follow through with that. Ensure that the young people around you know that they are important and valued. If a young person is having trouble asking for help, we can no longer ignore their signs. If they're really struggling and are instead resorting to their own survival mechanisms or disruptive behavior, we got to stop stigmatizing them. We've got to lend a hand in reaching out. We need to stop labeling them as troubled youth. We need to stop labeling them as attention seekers. Yes, maybe they are seeking attention, but that is because there is something there in that person's life that they are lacking. And if we can help them to fill that void, then we're helping them on a way to a better future, not only for themselves, but also for our future generation. It could only take one detrimental factor in a young person's life to lead them to their very own rock bottom, whether it be debt, abuse, addiction, a death or divorce in the family, you name it. Any of these things could happen to any young person. Your son or daughter, niece or nephew, your grandchildren, that kid who lives down the street. My point is our youth are vulnerable, but it is up to us to guide them, whether they are only 15 or only 21. Our youth are precious members of our society. They are not only a number stating how many years they've been on this earth. They are much more than that, and it is up to us to show that to them. Thank you.